Riverside Kids, here's 2 dance moves to help you learn this week's dance. Our first dance move is called the sideways spinner. We're going to have our arm up and we're going to kick as we spin. Our next dance move is our side hop. And there you have it. Let's get started.
Hey Riverside Kids!
Welcome to this week's lesson.
David is on the run from jealous King Saul.
Saul was so angry, Israel cheered for David more than him.
King Saul felt that he had to get rid of David before David tried to kill him to be king.
One day, Saul heard where David was hiding. King Saul brought 3,000 of his men to defeat him.
3,000 men to defeat one guy? I know that David always had a small army following him, but King Saul was really afraid of David.
They traveled for a while and King Saul had to stop to take a nap. He went into the cave nearby. He had no idea it was the same cave David was hiding in.
David's friends told him to kill King Saul while they had the chance. David walked up to Saul, but he was sound asleep.
David had a chance to end King Saul and become the king.
But David did not feel right about killing him. He knew that even though King Saul was a bad king, God had once chosen him. He did not want to harm one that was chosen by God.
So David decided to only cut off a piece of King Saul's clothes.
I wonder what David's up to. What is his plan?
Well, David waited until after Saul woke up and started to leave the cave. David came up close enough to King Saul and asked him,
Why do you listen to people saying I want to kill you? I had the chance to kill you here in this cave, but I did not.
He then showed King Saul the piece of his shirt he cut off.
King Saul looked down at his cut clothing, and he was so shocked that David had gotten so close to him, but didn't harm him. King Saul cried and said that David was a better man than himself. In that moment, he realized that God would make him the king of Israel one day.
David promised King Saul he would never hurt him. They left each other in peace that day.
Although they left each other in peace that day, King Saul would often change his mind. Soon, he'd be hunting David again.
For 5 years this went on. Can you imagine hiding for your life for that long?
David always trusted in God and prayed often. Soon, David received news that King Saul and his son Jonathan died in war.
David was extremely sad because Jonathan was his best friend. Jonathan had spent lots of time with him growing up, and Jonathan even gave his own armor and arrows to David to show their friendship.
The last time before David had to go on the run for those 5 years, Jonathan was the one that warned David to run. He knew that it would be the last time that they spoke. They both cried and gave each other words of encouragement.
Do you have someone special in your life like Jonathan? God blesses us with great friends, and we must take care of them.
King Saul and his son Jonathan have passed away. Israel is now in need of a new king.
Join us next week to see David's next step as we continue our story, The Rising King.
And keep watching for this week's craft. We'll see you next week.
Bye!